The 5 Major Pieces to the Life Puzzle, by Jim Rohn. Introduction. There's a story about a man sitting in a small boat on a beautiful, calm river. The sun is warm on his face, a gentle breeze is blowing, and the shore is just a few feet away. There's no cause for concern. He baits his hook, casts his line, and lets his mind wander, just as he'd planned. And as his mind drifts, so does his boat. It's a slow, imperceptible movement at first. The kind you don't even notice. He's thinking about his week, about his plans, about anything but the gentle current that is now guiding him. He tells himself there will be plenty of time for seriousness later. For now, he'll just relax. He'll just drift. Without warning, a sound interrupts his thoughts. A distant rumble that grows, in the twinkling of an eye, into a deafening roar. He looks up, startled, and sees the riverbanks have somehow retreated, rushing past him now. His small boat is no longer drifting, it's being propelled, pulled by a force he can't control. And in an instant, the horrifying reality hits him. The thundering sound, the rising foam, the swirling mist. He hadn't just cast his boat onto any river. He was on the Niagara River, and his gentle, mindless drift had brought him to the very edge of the falls. He had run out of time. This story isn't just about a man in a boat. It's about all of us. Because every day, in some small way, we are all drifting. We allow our habits, our thoughts, and our days to be carried by the gentle current of circumstance, never realizing where it's taking us until the roar of regret becomes too loud to ignore. But what if you could see the falls from a distance? What if you could understand the currents of your own life and, instead of drifting, learn how to set your own course? That is the question that one of the greatest thinkers of our time, a man named Jim Rohn, dedicated his life to answering. He was a farm boy from Idaho who, by his own admission, was broke and adrift at age 25. But through the mentorship of a wise teacher, he discovered that success isn't a mystery. It's a formula. He learned that life is like a puzzle, and that for most people, the pieces are scattered and confusing. But there are only 5 major pieces. And if you understand them, if you know how they fit together, you can build a masterpiece. By the time he passed, Jim Rohn had shared this message with millions of people, from executives at the top corporations to young people just starting out, like you. His work became the foundation for an entire generation of leaders and achievers. And that is my promise to you today. We're going to unbox that puzzle. By the end of our time together, you will hold in your hands the 5 major pieces that, when assembled correctly, can build any life you can possibly imagine. This isn't about hype or motivation. It's about the timeless fundamentals for a life well lived. So let's begin. Let's start with the cornerstone, the very first piece of the puzzle, upon which everything else is built. Book summary. Imagine 2 ships setting sail from the same port, at the same time, heading for the same destination. On their journey, they face the exact same winds, the same storms, and the same challenges of the sea. Yet, weeks later, one ship arrives at the destination, victorious, while the other is lost, wrecked on some distant shore. What made the difference? It wasn't the sea. It wasn't the storms. It was the set of the sail. In life, the winds of circumstance, disappointment, heartbreak, opportunity, and disaster blow on all of us. They don't discriminate between the rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated. The great question of life is not whether the winds will blow. They will. The question is how you will set your sail. And that, my friend, is the first and most important piece of the life puzzle, your philosophy. Your personal philosophy is the way you think. It's the sum total of everything you've learned and all the conclusions you've drawn from your experiences. It's the filter through which you see the world, and it quietly governs every choice you make, every single day. Think about it. The person who wakes up at 5 a.m. to work on their goals and the person who sleeps until noon both do so because of their personal philosophy. Each one is acting on what they believe is valuable. But the destinations those two philosophies lead to are worlds apart. The problem is, much of what we've learned is based on faulty information. We pick up bad ideas from our friends, from the media, from our own misinterpretations of past events. We form conclusions that are actually holding us back. So how do we fix it? How do we build a powerful philosophy that serves us? Jim Rohn says it begins with a few simple, but profound, daily practices. First, learn from your own experiences. Your past is a school. Every failure, every success, every mistake is a lesson. The key is to look at your past honestly, without blaming others. If you've made a mistake, own it. Study it. Let the memory of that mistake serve you, so you don't repeat it. A life worth living is a life worth documenting, which is why keeping a journal is one of the most powerful habits you can develop. Writing down your thoughts, your experiences, and your emotions helps you see your own life more objectively. It allows you to learn the lessons so that the past can become your servant, not your master. Second, learn from the experiences of others. There are two kinds of people you can learn from: the successful and the failures. We should study people who have done well. Read their books. Listen to their stories. Absorb their habits and their way of thinking. Success leaves clues. But just as importantly, we must study failure. Learn what not to do. The person who ignores the lessons of history is doomed to repeat them. Life is too short to make all the mistakes yourself. And the easiest way to access the minds of the greatest people who have ever lived? Read all the books. Rohn asks a piercing question: with all the books in the world that could change your life, your fortune, your relationships, and your health for the better, how many have you read in the last 90 days? He reminds us that there's very little difference between someone who cannot read and someone who will not read. The result of both is ignorance. If you feel a book is too expensive, he says, wait until you get the bill for not buying it. Wait until you pay the price for continued ignorance. A little reading every day accumulates into a wealth of knowledge. This leads us to one of the most crucial ideas in the entire book. It's the formula that governs both success and failure. The formula for failure is this: a few errors in judgment, repeated every day. That's it. You don't fail overnight. You fail from a long, slow accumulation of small, seemingly insignificant bad choices. Eating the wrong foods. Not reading the books. Spending a little too much. Not saying what needs to be said. On any given day, these things don't seem to matter. Nothing catastrophic happens. The sky doesn't fall. And because there are no immediate consequences, we repeat the error. And again. And again. Failure's greatest danger is its subtlety. But here is the good news. The formula for success is just as simple. The formula for success is a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. That's the secret. Reading 10 pages of a good book every day. Eating an apple. Saving a small percentage of your income. Making the phone call you've been putting off. These are easy things to do. The challenge is, they are also very easy not to do. The primary reason most people don't get what they want in life can be summed up in one word: neglect. They simply neglect to do the small, constructive things every day. And that neglect, like a small infection, spreads until it poisons their entire system of disciplines. Your personal philosophy, then, is what helps you recognize the errors in judgment and gives you the wisdom to choose the simple disciplines instead. It's the set of your sail. But even with the most perfect sail, A ship is dead in the water if it has no emotional energy, no driving force. Which brings us to the second major piece of the life puzzle: your attitude. If philosophy is about what you know, attitude is about how you feel about what you know. And our feelings, our emotions, are the powerful forces that determine our actions day to day. With the right attitude, people can move mountains. With the wrong attitude, they can be crushed by a grain of sand. Jim Rohn breaks down attitude into 3 key areas. First is your attitude about the past. As we've said, the past should be a school, not a weapon. You cannot beat yourself up over past mistakes. You can't change it. You must accept it, learn from it, and then close the door on it so that you can fully embrace the present. If you are constantly looking in the rear-view mirror, you're going to crash the car. Second is your attitude about the present. Today is where your better future begins. Each day offers you the same 86,400 seconds that it offers everyone else. Time favors no one. Today is the moment where you can begin the process of change. It doesn't care about yesterday's failures. It simply offers you a clean slate and asks, "What are you going to do with me?" And third, and perhaps most powerful, is your attitude about the future. Your attitude about the future depends on your ability to see the future. Not in a mystical way, but through the power of your imagination. Rohn teaches a profound principle: all things must be finished before they can be started. Think about that. The house you live in was finished in the architect's mind before the first nail was hammered. The car you drive was a finished product on a computer screen before the first piece of steel was bent. In the same way, you must design your own future. You begin with a clear, vivid idea of the person you want to become and the life you want to live. The more clearly you see that future, the more it begins to pull you toward it. The vision of your future becomes a source of incredible inspiration in the present. It gets you out of bed in the morning. It helps you push through the tough times. When the promise of the future becomes clear, the price you have to pay in the present becomes easy. Your dreams inspire you to become the very person you need to be to achieve them. So, your attitude is shaped by how you view your past, your present, and your future. But it's also profoundly shaped by something else: your associations. The people you spend time with are a major source of what you know and how you feel. Rohn urges us to ask ourselves 3 questions about the people in our inner circle. 1. Who am I around? Take an honest look at the people you associate with most. Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they reading, growing, and positive? Or are they cynical, complaining, and stagnant? 2. What effect are they having? Where do they have you going? How do they have you talking, thinking, and feeling? Most importantly, what do they have you becoming? 3. Is that acceptable? Influence is subtle. It's like a gentle nudge. You would never let someone intentionally push you off course. But a friend can subtly nudge you, a little each day, with a negative comment here or a poor habit there, until one day you wake up and wonder, "How did I get here? This isn't where I meant to be." This is why you must protect your attitude like a precious treasure. Sometimes, this means you must disassociate from people who are having a toxic effect on you. Other times, it means practicing limited association. You can spend a few minutes with some people, but not a few hours. You can spend a few hours with others, but not a few days. You control the dial. And finally, you must actively pursue expanded association. Seek out people who inspire you, challenge you, and educate you. Spend more of your time with the 20% of people who are producing 80% of the positive results and positive feelings in your life. Your attitude, ultimately, is a choice. No one can make you angry. No one can make you feel unworthy. You surrender control of your feelings. When you accept full responsibility for your attitude, you take back the power to shape your own emotional world. So now you have the first two pieces. A sound philosophy is your foundation, and a positive attitude is your emotional fuel. You've set your sail, and you've filled it with the energy of optimism. But a ship still needs to act, to move, to journey. This brings us to the third piece of the puzzle: activity. Rohn tells an ancient story, the parable of the talents. A master gives 3 servants different amounts of money, or talents, to look after while he's away. The first 2 servants invest their talents and double their money. The third, afraid of losing what he was given, buries his 1 talent in the ground. When the master returns, he praises the first 2. But to the third, he says, "Take the 1 talent from him and give it to the one who has 10. The moral is not that life is unfair. The moral is that life rewards action. It's our responsibility to do something with what we've been given, whether it's 1 talent or 100. Knowledge and good feelings are not enough. Sooner or later, you must convert them into disciplined activity. This is often the missing piece for so many good, hard-working people. They have a good education and a positive outlook, but their lives are marked by quiet desperation. Why? Rohn gives a startling answer. It's because they are not working at their goals with the same intensity as those who may be less virtuous but are more driven. He says, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. It is a lack of intense, disciplined activity that allows failure and mediocrity to flourish." Your dreams, no matter how powerful, must be harnessed. Like the mighty Niagara Falls, their power is useless until it's channeled into energy. Talking about success is not the same as achieving it. Wishing for a better life is not a plan. This is where Rohn introduces another of his most famous concepts, the choice between the 2 pains. He says we must all suffer from one of 2 pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is that the pain of discipline weighs only ounces, while the pain of regret weighs tons. We must embrace the small, daily pain of doing the work now to avoid the crushing weight of looking back on a life of unfulfilled potential. Of course, this doesn't mean all work and no rest. Life requires a healthy balance. Rohn points to the biblical ratio of 6 days of labor and 1 day of rest. He cautions that rest should be a necessity, not an objective. It's a pause to recharge for the next assault on your goals. The punishment for excessive rest is mediocrity. But activity alone is not enough. It must be intelligent activity. It must be planned, refined, and consistently executed. This is where goals come in. You must have well-defined, written goals for your future. Long-range goals act as your destination, the magnificent obsession that pulls you forward. Short-term goals are the landmarks along the way that keep you on track. And where does this journey of 1,000 disciplined steps begin? It begins with your "I should have" list. We all have one. I should have written that letter. I should have started my exercise program. I should have told them I care. Pick one of those should-haves and do it. Today. The joy and self-worth that come from that one small, completed act will start a miracle process. It will build the first rung on a ladder that will lead you out of the abyss of neglect. With a sound philosophy guiding you, a positive attitude fueling you, and a plan of intense, daily activity moving you forward, you are now in the process of creating the fourth piece of the puzzle: results. Results are the harvest. They are the predictable outcome of your past efforts. Like a farmer, you cannot expect a bountiful harvest in the fall if you planted only a few seeds in the spring and neglected the weeds all summer. Results are not a matter of need or desire, they are a matter of deserving. They are the reward for foresight and labor. Checking your results regularly is like checking your compass on a long journey. It tells you if you're still on course. If you're only going to the next block, being off by a few degrees doesn't matter much. But if your destination is a distant star, being off by even 1 degree can leave you millions of miles off target. So how do you measure your results? Rohn says there are 2 ways. The first is by looking at what you have. Your tangible assets, your home, your savings, your investments, are a measuring rod of your material progress. If, after years of labor, your list of assets is meager, it's a sign that something needs to change. Not a reason to despair, but a signal to adjust your philosophy, your attitude, or your activity. But there is a second, far more important way to measure your results. It's by looking at what you have become. Are you a person of integrity? Are you a good parent, a loyal friend, a respected colleague? Are you kind? Are you wise? Are you happy with the person you see in the mirror? This is the true measure of a life. And this leads to what is arguably the single most important principle in Jim Rohn's entire body of work. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Read that again. You don't chase after success. You don't hunt down happiness and wealth. You attract them by becoming a more valuable person. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. The results you have in your life are a direct mirror of the person you have become. This is why the core of personal development is not working on your job, but working on yourself. If you want to have more, you must first become more. If you lost all your money tomorrow, but you didn't lose the person you became to earn it, you would attract it all back again. Because the same knowledge, the same attitude, and the same skills will always produce the same results. The alarm in this truth is that unless you change, your results will never change. But the elation is that any day you choose, you can begin the process of becoming more, and as you do, you will inevitably begin to attract more into your life. When you bring all 4 of these pieces together, your philosophy, your attitude, your activity, and your results, they create the final picture, the 5th and final piece of the puzzle, your lifestyle. Lifestyle, Rohn teaches, is not an amount. It is an art. It's the art of living well, of finding joy and sophistication not just after you've become successful, but while you are on the journey. Many people have learned to earn well, but they have not learned to live well. They put off happiness, waiting until they're wealthy. They fail to realize that happiness is part of the cause of wealth, not just the effect. You don't have to be rich to live richly. Lifestyle is not about buying expensive things, it's about creating priceless experiences. Anyone can afford to watch a sunset. A single rose, given with sincerity, can mean more than a dozen orchids. The joy of watching your child learn to ride a second-hand bicycle is just as real as watching them on a new one. Sophistication is not about spending a lot of money, it's about spending a little thought. Rohn gives a wonderful example of tipping at a restaurant. The word tip comes from the phrase to ensure promptness. The sophisticated person gives the tip before the meal, not after, pulling the server aside and saying, "My guests are very special to me tonight. This is for you," to make sure they have an unforgettable experience. That small, unique act transforms an ordinary dinner into an extraordinary event. That is lifestyle. But perhaps the biggest key to mastering the art of lifestyle is this: wherever you are, be there. So many of us live our lives in a state of distraction. When we're at home, we're thinking about work. When we're at work, we're worrying about home. We are so absorbed in yesterday and tomorrow that we never notice today slipping through our fingers. We go through the day, but we don't get anything from the day. To live a rich life, you must learn to be present. To truly listen when someone is speaking. To savor a meal. To feel the warmth of the sun. To let life touch you, not just the joys, but the sorrows too. Emotions are what enrich our lives. Lifestyle is learning to capture each moment and draw from it all the substance and experience it has to offer. And so, the 5 pieces come together. Your philosophy sets your course. Your attitude provides the power. Your activity creates the motion. Your results give you feedback. And your lifestyle is the art of enjoying the journey. But Rohn offers one final, critical warning. There is a glue that holds all of these pieces together, and without it, the entire puzzle can fall apart. It's a sense of urgency. The greatest danger for most of us is not desperation, but comfort. We have a roof over our heads, food to eat, a car to drive. Our basic needs are met. And so we drift into the dangerous comfort zone. We lack the burning desire to push for more. We tell ourselves, there's always tomorrow. The problem with waiting for tomorrow is that when it arrives, it's called today. And we waste today just like we wasted yesterday. The clock is ticking for all of us. Time is the great equalizer. It does not care about our excuses or our intentions. It simply passes. The game of life is not a practice session. It's happening right now. You cannot afford to wait for the 2-minute warning to start playing with intensity. You must develop a sense of urgency now. You must see the future consequences of your current neglect and use that vision to drive you into action today. Because in the end, your life will be the sum of one of 2 things, either the few errors in judgment, repeated every day, that led to regret, or the few simple disciplines, practiced every day, that led to a life of fortune, happiness, and wonder. The choice is yours. Commentary. As we reflect on Jim Rohn's The 5 Major Pieces to the Life Puzzle, what strikes me most is its profound simplicity. In a world that is constantly screaming at us with new fads, complex strategies, and get-rich-quick schemes, Rohn's message is a return to the fundamentals. It's a quiet, steady voice that reminds us that the principles for a good life haven't really changed in thousands of years. They are timeless because they are true. This book isn't about learning a secret trick. It's about becoming a certain kind of person. It's about understanding that your life isn't something that just happens to you. It's something you design. And the tools for that design are not outside of you. They are your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your choices. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the idea that success is something you attract by the person you become. This shifts the entire focus of life from chasing to becoming. Instead of asking, what do I need to get? It forces you to ask, who do I need to be? That one shift in perspective changes everything. It means that your circumstances are not your prison, they are your feedback. They are telling you about the person you currently are. If you want different circumstances, you must become a different person. And that is a power that no one can ever take away from you. This message is more relevant today than ever before. We live in the age of distraction. The forces of neglect are more powerful and seductive than at any point in human history. It's easier than ever to choose entertainment over education, to drift through our days scrolling on a screen, to let the subtle errors in judgment pile up until they become an avalanche. Rohn's work is an anchor in this storm. It calls us back to the simple disciplines: reading the books, keeping a journal, guarding our associations, and practicing our craft with intensity. So, how can you start applying these timeless ideas right now, today? Here are a few simple, practical actions you can take. First, conduct a 90-day audit. Ask yourself Rohn's classic question: in the last 90 days, how many books have I read? Be honest. Add to that, how many new skills have I begun to learn? How much of my income have I saved? Let your answers be your guide. Don't judge yourself. Just use the information to make a better choice for the next 90 days. Maybe that means choosing one book to read, even if it's just for 10 minutes a day. Second, start a journal. You don't need anything fancy. A simple notebook will do. For the next 7 days, commit to spending just 5 minutes at the end of the day writing down one idea you encountered, one experience that taught you something, or one emotion you felt. The act of capturing your life on paper will begin to change the way you see it. And third, do an association review. Identify one person in your life who consistently inspires you, educates you, or lifts you up. Make a conscious effort to spend 30 more minutes with them this week, whether it's a phone call, a coffee, or a walk. Conversely, identify one influence that consistently drains you or fills you with negativity. Find a way to lovingly create just a little more distance. Protect your emotional and philosophical garden. We've covered the core of Jim Rohn's masterpiece today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. It can show you the layout, the major cities, and the roads, but it can never replace the experience of actually walking the terrain yourself, of breathing the air and meeting the people. The real magic happens in the quiet moments when a particular story or a simple phrase from the book hits you in a way you didn't expect. If anything we've talked about has resonated with you, I wholeheartedly encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself and the puzzle of your own life. If you found this summary valuable, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. It helps us reach more people who are looking to grow, and it ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep putting the pieces together, one day at a time.